What do you think of Divinity versus Baldur's Gate so far? Lycros1122. It is a good question, and I think of it as well. But why do I balk at answering? Because maybe I think it's not fair to compare the two. Divinity has had add-ons, mods, time, maturation, and so on. Plus, they had more freedom with it, making the game. They didn't have to follow rigidly a Dungeons and Dragons format of 5th edition. But maybe that's irrelevant whether they had to follow that or not. It's about the enjoyment. Here's what I find so far. Initially, Baldur's Gate 3 combat felt like its weakest point to me. Voice acting, fantastic. Narration, fantastic. Storytelling, graphics, consequences, morality, all fantastic. I feel like it ranks really strongly on roleplay and emotions. And Divinity is pretty good at those too. Emotions, roleplay, very good at voice acting, narration. The consequences are a bit more lacking. So when comparing Divinity 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, I never felt that Divinity was lacking in consequences. But when comparing the two directly together, I would say if I were to murder a whole village, there would be fewer negative consequences or none in Divinity. Maybe I miss out on a quest line, but without Twitch chat telling me, I wouldn't even know that I missed out on quest line. Right? So I can murder a whole city in Divinity and feel good and sleep soundly at night. I get XP, we move on. Next quest. Whereas in Baldur's Gate, there are going to be consequences for it. Exciting consequences, negative consequences. There's going to be approval, disapproval, right? It will be more noticeable. So what I think Baldur's Gate ranks really strongly in is the role-playing aspect, which is exactly the goal of the game, isn't it? In doing so, they have succeeded in the goal. You see, both are RPGs, but they're not the same RPGs. Yeah, there's a lot of systems similar to Divinity, but if you were to ask, what was the goal? What was the main mission statement of each game? I would argue they're a little different. Just like the mission statement between two RTSs can be different. Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2 are quite different, despite both being a Blizzard quality, Blizzard style, classic RTS. Right? Because of the hero or no hero. Likewise, I think Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity are different in good ways. You can kick and kill squirrels, right? You can, there's romance, which Divinity has none of. That already necessarily makes it stronger on roleplay. Because I feel like Baldur's Gate really brings a greater spectrum of human emotion into the mix. All of us, even people that identify as asexual, right? All of us think of romance and intimacy. And it comes into play here. Maybe not all of us think of murder and stealing, but it's definitely possible for humans to think about those things. And this is just a game, of course. But it's anger, surprise, fear, triumph, defeat, hopelessness, frustration, revelation. It's all there in Baldur's Gate, right? Including romance, which is a really big topic. And interpersonal relationships and friendships, right? It's not all romantic. It's also appreciation, friendship. And I think when you speak to characters, there's something... It's funny because they're just 2D characters, but they're made by real people and it's done well. When you speak to characters, you feel things. You have real feelings about things, even though they're just 2Ders. So that's pretty interesting. So I would say Baldur's Gate 3 a little stronger in roleplay. So far, I feel like Divinity is a little stronger in combat than Baldur's Gate 3. But while I initially didn't super like Baldur's Gate 3 combat, I feel like from the moment I got level 4 and understood the game a little better, 25 hours into a playthrough, I'm finally starting to appreciate combat a little bit more. So yeah, I think that's... and I think I haven't seen the end of it yet. Baldur's Gate 3 combat possibilities. I think blocking damage with armor in many games like Dota 2, Warcraft 3 and Divinity, you block damage with armor and then take less real damage. I believe that will always feel better than the enemy missing you. When the enemy misses you, you feel like you got lucky. when the enemy hits you but you don't feel much, it's because you armored well. That feels better. This is true in Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Diablo 4, Warcraft 3, Dota 2. I have armor, I'm strong, I resist your damage. Feels better than you're a stormtrooper and you missed. And likewise, I prefer for my damage to be mitigated by the enemy's resistances and armor, like in Divinity, Dota, Warcraft 3, SC2. My damage is mitigated because of their armor, rather than my stupid character missed again. But this is simply a carryover from how Dungeons and Dragons on pen and paper works. That's how 5th edition works. You hit or you miss, and that's how AC armor class
works. If you
works.
had one advice to make a relationship last, what would it be?
Grow together. Keep working on things together.